Hi, I'm Tori, and I am a doctor of physical therapy who specializes in pelvic dysfunction, which means I treat things that can go wrong around the pelvis, and this includes sexual dysfunction. If you haven't, check out the very first video in this series, as it speaks more about what is considered normal and abnormal surrounding female libido, and it outlines my intention behind creating this series, which is, in short, to walk you through how I would go about treating low libido as a patient who is also a pelvic health provider. Today's video focuses on relationships because sex drive could absolutely be impacted, both negatively and positively, by your relationship with your sexual partner or partners. Therefore, examining that relationship and sort of thoughtfully peeling back its layers could be really helpful when trying to treat low libido. Before I speak more on this topic, I do want to reiterate that I am a physical therapist, not a sex therapist or a specialized counselor, and my intention is to share how I would examine my sexual relationship personally, not to give you relationship advice professionally, because I am not qualified to do that. I also want to share that unless I was rather confident that my relationship was the cause of my low libido, I would want to rule out medical and biological causes first. I do have videos in this series dedicated to examining medications, your physical body, and hormones that might be helpful if you haven't yet ruled out those potential biological or medical causes. Links to those videos can be found in the description below. And finally, I am in a heterosexual relationship, and I will be using my relationship to sort of guide my ideas in this video. However, I am hopeful that what I propose can be applied to any sexual relationship, not just heterosexual ones. So with all of that being said, let's talk about relationships and low libido. While I want to share with you different areas of myself and my relationship that I'd be interested in exploring, and how I would want to talk with my husband about those different areas, for the sake of the length of this video, I'm going to unpack each area of interest here and then write about how I would discuss certain areas with my husband in the description. One area that I would be very interested in exploring and learning more about is the type of sex drive that I have and the type of sex drive that my partner has. If you think about how we talk about and usually portray sex drive in popular culture, we tend to only showcase and validate what is known as the spontaneous type, which is the kind of sex drive that shows up instantaneously, with or without physical stimulation, and regardless of a person's circumstances or surrounding environment. This is a part of a linear sexual response model. Desire first, then physical arousal, then sex. Almost like you're hungry, so you eat, and then you're satisfied. But have you ever not really been that hungry, decided to eat anyway, and then realized while you're eating that you're actually very hungry and very much desire the food, and end up being super satisfied after the meal? Dr. Emily Nagoski has her PhD in health behavior and human sexuality, and proposes in her New York Times bestseller, Come As You Are, that while spontaneous sex drive and this linear type of sexual response model are real and valid, so is something that she calls responsive sex drive. Someone with a responsive type of sex drive experiences sexual desire after physical arousal. So this person might not initiate sex because the mental desire to have sex isn't there, and then realizes after some physical stimulation that she does in fact very much desire sex. Instead of desire first and then arousal, we see arousal first and then desire in this responsive responsive type of sex drive. According to Dr. Nagalski's research, while 75% of men experience this spontaneous type of sex drive, only 15% of women do. That means that the other 25% of men and 85% of women either experience that responsive type of sex drive or a combination of spontaneous and responsive sex drive. I think that knowing and understanding what kind of sex drive you have and what kind of sex drive your partner has could be incredibly powerful and liberating. A responsive type of sex drive is perfectly healthy, and normalizing that experience of desire, recognizing that there's nothing wrong with you or the way that you get excited about and interested in having sex, could help you shed feelings of inadequacy or self-judgment, which could lead to more sexual confidence and more sex. Statistically speaking, if you are a female watching this whose partner is a male, according to Dr. Nagalski's research, you are much more likely to have a responsive type or a combination type of sex drive, and he is much more likely to have a spontaneous type of sex drive. If that is the case, learning that all three types of sex drives are normal and healthy could help your partner depersonalize your lack of sexual advances towards him and recognize that he is in fact desirable and desired by you. You just need a little bit of physical stimulation to connect with that desire. If the idea of knowing more about the type of sex drive that I have and the type of sex drive that my partner has resonated with me, there are a few different ways that I might go about exploring that and proposing that exploration to my husband. If you're interested in knowing more about how I might explore this topic or talk about this topic with my partner, you can read about it in the description below. If the idea of learning more about my kind of sex drive and my husband's kind of sex drive didn't resonate with me, I'd be curious about the kind of sex that I'm expecting to have with my partner versus the kind of sex that gets me really excited. Said another way, I would be very curious about getting specific about what good sex means to me. I'd want to investigate whether or not the reason that I'm not feeling a lot of sexual desire is because I'm not that excited about the sex that I'm expecting to have. I'm a big fan of writing. It is my favorite self-reflection tool. And if the idea of not being that excited about the sex that I'm having with my partner resonated with me, I'd want to further explore how I define good sex via my writing. I'd use a question like, what does good sex mean to me specifically, as a sort of prompt? And I really do think that specifics are important. For instance, if I found myself writing something like, I want to make love with my husband, not just have sex, I would challenge myself to further define what I mean by making love. Do I want eye contact? Do I want a slower rhythm with more focus on sensuality? Do I want to be more animalistic? Do I want to explore the pain-pleasure threshold? Do I want more foreplay? If I do want more foreplay, what kind of foreplay do I want more of? Do I want to be dominated, or would I rather be in charge and spoil my partner? There is no wrong answer here, and there is nothing to be embarrassed about in your writing or in your preferences. In my opinion, as long as it's consensual, any kind of sex is beautiful and should be embraced. And any avenue that leads to someone experiencing pleasure is valid and should be celebrated. Sex can be so much more than just an orgasm, and it's okay if your definition of good sex focuses on other things. The reason I think getting specific about what good sex means to me could be so helpful is because 1, I deserve to have good sex and so do you. And 2, I feel that focusing on quality instead of quantity would naturally lead to more quantity in the future. If you want to learn more about how I would talk to my husband about this topic and involve him in its exploration, check the description below. If I wasn't really resonating with the idea of exploring different types of sex drive or getting specific about what good sex means to me, I would be very curious about context. Circumstances and environment can absolutely impact someone's ability to feel sexual desire. And what's so intriguing about context is that if you're not bringing your awareness to how context might be affecting your desire, desire can feel spontaneous when it actually isn't. You might find yourself feeling more sexual desire when you're on vacation, for instance, than when you're at home. Or maybe you feel a natural increase in your sex drive when your kids are out of the house versus when they're asleep down the hall. Opening up to the idea of my sex drive being impacted by my context is something that I would want to explore literally by changing my and my husband's sexual context and seeing how I responded. I would want to schedule sexy time away from our home or wherever it is that me and my partner usually had sex and see what changed. That could be something new, like having sex outside somewhere, or something really simple like having sex in an Airbnb down the street. If I found that context significantly impacted my desire, I would want to schedule times for my partner and I to have sex in contexts that made both of us feel sexy. I know the idea of scheduling sexy time might not seem that appealing, but don't knock it till you try it. Knowing that a time to be free and playful and sexual with your partner is on the calendar and happening in a space that makes both of you feel opened and relaxed can actually be quite exciting. You might find yourself feeling more flirtatious towards one another, or even feeling more open to trying new things in bed, because the pressure of having spontaneous sex in a context that doesn't make you feel sexy is gone. Finally, if none of the topics that we've discussed thus far resonated with me, I'd want to get curious about whether I was losing interest in sex in general or losing interest in my partner specifically. Again, I like to write, so I would want to further explore this idea in my writing. I'd want to ask myself questions like, when I felt immense sexual attraction and desire towards my partner, what was different about our lives and what was the same? And when I felt immense sexual attraction and desire towards my partner, what was different about the roles that we played and what's the same? For clarification, when I say roles in this context, I mean if you simplify life and pretend that it's a sort of movie, what roles were you playing in the movie when there was a lot of sexual desire versus the roles that you're playing in the movie now? Girlfriend, wife, mother, breadwinner, career-oriented, ambitious protagonist, housekeeper, roles like these. And what roles did your partner play when your sexual relationship was at its peak versus the roles that he or she is playing now? I think an exercise like this would be really helpful for me because, for instance, I can make a lot of sense out of feeling a lot of sexual desire towards my partner when I was playing the career-oriented, ambitious protagonist and he was playing the supportive boyfriend cheerleader. And I can make a lot of sense out of feeling not so much desire towards my partner when I'm playing the role of full-time mother and it feels to me as though he is assuming the role of one of my children. And sort of building off of that idea, I would also want to ask myself, do I feel neglected in other areas of our relationship? If so, where? If not, how do I feel supported in other areas of my relationship? Sexuality and libido are incredibly personal and can can be affected by so much more than just your partner's physical body. There's nothing wrong with you if your sexual attraction to your partner changes as your life together changes, or the roles that you play in that life together changes, or the relationship itself changes. Whether you discover that it's the type of sex drive that you have, or the kind of sex that you're having, or how context is impacting your sex drive, or a change in your sexual attraction to your partner specifically, or something deeper like a lack of emotional connection or issues with trust that are causing your low libido, remember that solving any problem in a relationship, sexual or otherwise, is a process, not an event. Recognize that as difficult as this process might be, the two of you can commit to using the process to strengthen your relationship instead of hurting it. Finally, in my opinion, it's incredibly important that both you and your partner take ownership together over this process instead of assigning blame or putting the entirety of the process on only one person. And if it all feels too sticky or overwhelming to untangle without some external guidance, that's okay. Asking for help is hard, but you are so deserving of that help. I've got a link to a directory of sex therapists, counselors, and educators for you in the description below. On that note, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down and let me know what I can do to improve in the future. Feel free to comment questions, requests, suggestions, feedback, really anything in the comment section below. I do try really hard to read and respond to all of my comments. Finally, don't forget to check me out on Instagram, and if you want to, please do consider subscribing to the channel for more content, not only about pelvic things like today's video, but also about life things. Thank you again so much for watching. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.